open a donut shop. How did that start?
So yes, I did leave IT,
But since you're back to IT now, but I want us to start from the beginning.
Very
so why did you do that? What was the move about?
So what happened was, for about 4.5 years after I graduated, I worked in the oil and gas sector. In about 2012, I was challenged to come to Nigeria for the first time. So it was around November for Thanksgiving. And when I came to Nigeria, I realized for the first time that this is where I actually wanted to be. Because growing up where I grew up, you don't really see a lot of black people in positions of power. You grow up in a very multicultural setting. So when I came here, I felt at home. So when I went back, and when I got my luggage, we drove from IT. And when we went to Ekpoma, we went to the farm, and I saw that we had some palm kernels and we had fruits, and I'm like, why not jump into farming as well? So I went back and I weighed my options. I figured being here would be a better opportunity for me. Okay,
so when you resigned, what happened?
When I resigned, I was actually in the middle of my MBA program, and it was kind of like the week before. I was in my marketing class, and we were learning about segmentation strategy and things of that nature. And I went home, and I always used to watch the show on CNBC. It was called How I Made My Millions. And I was watching the show, and there was this show about these guys in a place called Seattle that were creating like these gourmet donuts. And I was like, what is a gourmet donut? And when I left watching the show, I decided, I went on Google and I was searching for Top Pot Donuts and gourmet donuts in Houston or in the stateside. And I realized there was like this distinct trend for like gourmet donuts. So I told myself, why not be the first person in the South to actually do it? So that kind of all happened at the same time. So it was like a perfect storm. I wanted to start a donut shop. I wanted to go back to Nigeria, and I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Well, you started a donut shop. What does it feel like to have a running business outside the shores of Nigeria now? It's where in the U.S. again?
It's in Houston, Texas.
It's in Houston, Texas. So you are running this business, and you started it first there.
Yes, the first business.
I mean, we know what our perception is like over there. When you hear,
my products are a little expensive. It's not 29 cents or 39 cents. It's $1 or $2, right? So.
Okay, so I'm looking at it from the many news of fraud that have greeted us on media lately, from the younger ones to the older ones, and they keep telling you this news is affecting the way Nigerians are accepted outside of the shores of Nigeria, especially outside of the shores of Africa. So you being someone who goes out a lot and comes back, how would you say it really affects your brand or your personality, or have you been profiled?
I think there's always going to be negative connotations associated with people in general, especially groups of people. It just so happens that it tends to be a lot of fraud associated with Nigerians. There's no way around it, but instead of focusing on the fact that there is a connotation of fraud, what we try to do is you have lawyers, you have engineers, you have scientists, you have so much going on. You have reporters, you have philanthropists, you have entrepreneurs, you have so many different people doing good things, so we can kind of take the focus away from the people who are doing the bad things and focus more on people who are actually doing good things. So that's what we try to do.
Okay. So how do you run all these businesses, from Alpha Dando to Alpha O&O to Wireless NG, Glitch Donuts? How do you manage them all?
God.
Okay, so that's a typical Nigerian answer, but how do you manage them?
No, honestly, I think that what I've been able to understand over the last 5 years, I think 2013 to 2017, 18 were the most difficult years for me, because I've never really immersed myself in starting my own business, and I never had any experience with completely managing, creating, and owning my own business. So it was very taxing emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, because during that time, I gained like 50 pounds. I was up 24/7. I was trying to understand multiple markets. I was trying to deal with business in the States. I was trying to build business in Nigeria, and I was trying to do everything myself, and it didn't work. So what I had to do was actually build a very strong team. And to answer your question without going on a tangent is the fact that I have a very strong team. And the people that I work with, because we are all teammates, they're very good at what they do. They believe in my vision and they have passion. So it allows me to be able to focus on different areas and focus on growth in different sectors and, you know, explore investing in different areas, because when they are part of the team, they actually take it and they own it and they help me grow it.
All right, let's go on a very quick break, but when we come back, we'll carry on this conversation. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So before we went on that quick break, you were saying something about you having to work hard to understand the Nigerian market and then understand the market over there. What would you say is the significant difference?
Fundamentally, two completely different markets.
Okay.
I would say that, you know, when you're looking at, let's say Houston, for example, what I am selling is going to be perceived a lot differently there than here, for example. At the time, I couldn't think about bringing a glazed donut and selling a donut here for, what would that be, the equivalent of 5,000 naira. Nobody's going to buy one donut for 5,000 naira. Okay. Right? But I had to convince people in Houston that it's worth it. Right? And I was also open, Glaze in Houston's open 24/7. And at the time, it was a difficult thing to be open 24/7 here because we have mixers, we have blenders, we have ovens, we have fryers, we have a whole kitchen, and it's always operating. And the cost of doing that here would have been significantly more because we would not be able to solely depend on the power system. So from a infrastructure perspective, you have to have two different strategies to be able to succeed.
Let's talk about Wireless NG. What is that about? Because I saw you put up something about it now being, I think, exclusively for West Africa, right?
Oh, no. So what's happening is Wireless NG is what at first it started off as the internet service provider in Benin City, right? We started that in like 2015, and it was pretty small. We had about 10 customers at the time, just local customers. And over the past few years, we kind of treated it like a small, family-oriented organization, but we've experienced some significant growth over the last 2 to 3 years. We're at about 750 customers, and we're shooting for about 1,000 before the end of February next year. And as such, we've tried to restructure it to be a more corporate, organized business. And we're kind of split it into two different divisions. So we have Wireless NG, the enterprise side, and Wireless NG, the ISP side. And Wireless NG, the enterprise side, now has exclusive rights for certain products from ViewSonic to sell in the region, like smart TVs, interactive touch panels, you know, to facilitate collaboration, whiteboarding, annotation, and like, you know, smart desk, so you can have teams working together to be able to utilize technology to be able to improve processes. So the exclusive is just for certain products in the region. Okay,
so your father was instrumental in you forming, or you being interested in information technology. Now, you're a dad too, right? Yeah. And I think parenting is one subject people tend to not talk about. You just find yourself in there, right? So considering the relationship you had with your father and how you were brought up, and now that you have your own children, what would you say your role should be in their lives to determine what
he was able to look at all of us as kids and have an idea as to where we could possibly succeed even before we knew it. Both my sisters are anesthesiologists. They're really good doctors, and my youngest sister is a specialist in special education, and now she's a beauty guru. And my father was able to see that then. And he kind of stirred us all, without pushing us and saying we have to do something, he kind of provided the tools and the paths for us to be able to go in the directions that he saw us succeeding in and let us choose to accept it. And I want to implement that same model because to me, I think that becoming a dad, I have a daughter and she's everything to me. I can see the type of love that my father had for me. And in that love, I think it's important to understand that I want the best for her. So I want to do the same thing my father did for her, to be able to at least provide her with the tools she needs to succeed in whatever path she can go. And if I identify something that she'll be really good in, and you know, she at 3 years old, 4 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, you won't really understand what you want to do, but I can put her in the path like my father did for me and let her grow in it. Because I didn't know anything about robotics or programming or development then, but he saw that I had interest in tools and putting things together. So he gave me a C++ book, gave me robots to build, and I just kept going with it. So I want to do the same thing.
Okay, you had your experience with the internet providers. I mean, that was what prompted you to see opportunities in Nigeria, right? When you first got in 2012.
2012.
Yes, and now I would say it is better, but
better.
People are complaining, especially with the cost, and they tell you, oh, I think it's expensive, and even when you buy unlimited, it doesn't feel like unlimited. So what would you say we have not gotten right? This is the field you play in. What would you say the network providers are not getting right?
So I would say that, and this is important to note, that for the speed and the lack of unlimited, everybody should try wireless NG.
Okay.
So we solved the problem, right? Just joking. But I think, generally speaking, I think that from the time, since 2012 until now, I think we've had significant improvements across the ICT sector, whether it's browse gap, and take advantage of some of these deficiencies, because if there were no deficiencies, we wouldn't exist.
So you're saying their deficiencies,
of course,
are caused by the fact that we have infrastructure and power issues in Nigeria?
I say that the deficiencies are caused by the fact that there's some areas that we can't solve problems without some things in place, right? I mean, it's kind of expensive sometimes to run a tower 24/7. On a generator, and it's kind of expensive sometimes to invest in like solar panels and things of that nature. So I think that we need, there's more, we need lower cost ICT solutions that run on less power, like our towers, to fill in those gaps. I mean, because infrastructure issues can be solved with entrepreneurial ideas, and that's anywhere you go. Doesn't matter if it's here or
So
in
are Nigerians
America.
expecting too much or demanding too much when it comes to data services?
I think anybody in the world is demanding from independent sources. But I think what also ended up happening is that a lot of times we have people curating their own lives and curating their own experiences and making everything perfect. So for the average person, when you're on social media, you're looking around, you're seeing what everybody else is doing and not really understanding the reality of it. So you're aspiring to achieve problems, and whenever you run into an issue where, not just the end result, because if you just see the good, like you focus, the people will have unrealistic expectations as to how fast it will be or how quick it will take for you to get there. So I think I do understand that as a millennial and the generation after us, we require a different type of development and instruction, right? What we're starting to see out of the social media age, I think, is you're seeing more creatives. I think that there was an article I read the other day about millennials and the younger group participating in the gig economy, the Ubers of the world and things of that nature, because that's where they're going. So I think it's not necessarily they're not doing enough or they're doing too much. It's just the fact that I think that when you look at dealing with millennials,
That would pose real threats, especially when we know that we still battle unemployment.
well, I don't know. I don't really think that we should be concerned with that, because I think that there's still going to be jobs that robots or artificial intelligence can't do. I think what you're going to get with artificial intelligence is the same thing we're getting now, right? You have these massive algorithms that are mining all this data to be able to project to us what we want to buy or what they think we want to buy, right? And I think there's a fine line between what we want to buy and what people are pushing us buying going to come from. Right? So I don't think that's the approach. I think it's meant to be able to create efficiencies, but it can't be to replace all the jobs, and it won't replace all the jobs, because if nobody's able to generate any income, what happens to the rest of the world?
Okay, but there's a list of jobs that are going around, and they'll tell you, if you love your children, don't have them be part of these jobs, because in the next 5 to 10 years, it should be irrelevant.
What type of jobs?
I mean, like accounting, and tell you there could be just an app that would get this job done without having someone or too many people. Even if you have someone to put in the figures, you don't need too many people getting the job done. So looking at that now, what would you advise people to impact in their children to be able to have a place in this new world? Let me put it that way.
I think that I always welcome new worlds, because they offer new challenges, and I think that it's not that I don't know, but I don't think it's that the jobs will be lost. I think it's just that we as individuals just have to become better. if this somebody has to design the systems, right? And if there's a problem, and if you're submitting your tax return and somebody queries it, the robot's not going to answer it. You need somebody to defend it for you. So those jobs are always going to be there. To me, it's just we just got to get more efficient and smarter. Okay,
so you were outside the country and you came back, then you saw opportunities. But we have people here who have decided to say, you know what, I need to leave, or I don't think I'm going to.
People, everybody's entitled to do what they want to do, right? Some people just may not like it. I mean, it doesn't matter what country you live in. Some people just want to leave, right? And experience something different. Like, we have free spirits, but I think that there's so many opportunities here. I think that there's so much growth remaining here. I think that the future is here. And I think that Nigeria is a place that nobody should leave, right? Because there's so much left to do. And I think it's good to grow, but I mean, it's a challenge. And me personally, I live for challenges. So if you're a risk taker and somebody that likes to be competitive, then why not be here?
Okay, so before I let you go.
And that drives me, and it for anybody who is looking to grow and to be better, I think it's very important to remain positive and understand that it's possible. But again, in this society and global culture, not isolated to anywhere individually, things don't happen fast. We're used to having very instant gratifications because, it's the system, right? We need affirmations yesterday for something that we post today, right? And if we don't get that, we don't feel fulfilled, and we feel depressed and we feel sad. But I think that success is never a definitive thing. It's a constant thing, because success in one moment is not success in another moment, right? You can be successful today and tomorrow things can fall apart. You have to continuously be successful. So you have to prepare yourself for a journey. And while you're young, you have this opportunity to completely build yourself, to develop your internal workings, because physically it's always good to be healthy. I mean, I got really, really fat. Like, I gained 50 pounds, so I was totally unhealthy for a while, but I had to refix myself. But what was important is what was inside of me never changed. So in the moments in which I found myself like in a complete disaster 24/7, I was able to hold on to what I had built over the many years to be able to prepare me through it. So while you're starting your journey, especially when you're young, you shouldn't be looking to win right now. You should be looking to prepare yourself, to prepare your internal working, your mind, your soul, your spirit, your emotions, to be able to control yourself, so when you reach that pinnacle that you're trying to achieve, you can continue to push yourself to exceed past that. And it's, like I said, success is not something that just happens. And some people get lucky. But the problem is we can never focus on the anomalies. We always want to focus within 1 to 2 standard deviations from the mean. And most of us are not just going to get lucky. And luck to me is a very interesting term, but we have to earn it. And it takes time. It takes going to, I know some people say school means nothing, but to me it means everything, because the time you spend in developing yourself in school, developing your mind, it's not just what you're learning from the books or you're learning from your teachers. It's the social interactions. It's the growth. It's the understanding how to survive. It's the struggle. Like, it's important to have a struggle, because it prepares you for when you're going to struggle in the future. Like, even if you're super successful, you have everything you need, and you put in an environment where you're operating a business, you're going to struggle. And if you've never experienced how to survive past that, it's going to be tough for you then. And it's better to fail a lot earlier than when you're there. So just time. Take your time.
Take your time. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
All right, I've been chatting with Idose Onhe, who is a serial entrepreneur. You can catch this conversation and all our exclusive content online by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Plus TV Africa. I'm Elsie Godwin saying thank you for watching and see you later.
On to arrest Boko Haram Oga Abubakar Shekau. The Reward for Justice program, or MBC, the Counter-Terrorism Reward program of the U.S., put all these things on top of their mind as they want to come out